So just a quick check. Everyone can see this screen, right? This
Yeah,
Microsoft
yeah,
Learning
screen is
Student
visible.
Ambassadors. Okay. So last week we saw we got a like in the computer vision field, and we saw the decision trees and random forest and ensemble learning. So this week we are going to get a bit of an overview of natural language processing too. So in particular, we will be seeing the classification algorithm in natural language processing. So before that, we'll first need to understand what the natural language processing means. So this natural language processing is the subset of machine learning, and it deals with the linguistic that builds and develops language models. So this language modeling, this kind of determines the likelihood of any word or sequences, and this does that by building some probabilistic uh, probabilistic sense of the data that we have given them. I'll hide this. Okay. So the first example that we'll see in NLP and classification is of the spam filter. For example, if you have seen your Gmail, then you know that Gmail automatically classifies the mail as spam or not spam. If it's not spam, then it will get into your primary inbox. So for example, I got this mail exactly last month on May 5th. So this email said that I've won some $1,000 and I have to claim this reward in order to get this $1,000. And I know that this is a spam because, well, this is a very sloppy mail. And the first thing that you will notice is that this email is kind of a bit weird. Is you won't get this kind of email from Walmart. And the
Vishal,
another
we
thing
are
that you will
seeing
notice is,
only the PPT. Like I am only able to see the
oh,
PPT.
Yes, I'm
okay,
also able to see the first screen only, first slide.
okay, I'll just reshare it.
Okay,
Stop
now it's
sharing.
visible.
I'm sharing the whole window.
Now it works.
Cool. So the very first thing that you will notice is that this email is a bit weird for Walmart company. So this can be considered as a feature. And the next thing that you'll search for is that this to show our gratitude to our loyal customers. It should be there are some grammatical mistakes in this from a very good Walmart company, and they are saying that you have won some amount, and that's a bit weird because some companies never send this kind of email. So this Gmail classification algorithm, that it classified it as a spam for me, and so I didn't have to deal with this mail. But anyways, I found this in the spam folder. And the next classification example that we are going to see in NLP is of the sentimental analysis. So, for example, this was taken from Rotten Tomatoes. The movies The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. This was taken. The screenshot was taken the last Wednesday. So, uh, what the Rotten Tomato does is that if the movie review is positive, then it will show a tomato, or and if it's negative, then it will show the rotten or splash tomato. So for example, that this one says a goodwill and sense of nostalgia for the Warrens goes only so far in this third film. So this is kind of a mixed review, that it is neutralish but something negative. So that's why maybe they said that this was a splash review. And again, this NLP and classification is not only limited to this sentimental analysis, but you can also apply this in paper taking. For example, if you have uh, given a research paper some headline and the abstract of it, and you are tasked to predict what domain should this research paper go into. For example, you are tasked to predict the keywords of that research paper. So this is taken from again Arxiv. This is very good site where you'll find many pre-published research paper. So, for example, this what matters for adversarial imitation learning. This was put under machine learning domain and artificial intelligence. And the next example, this machine learning meets inventing. This you can see that it classified it under the computer vision and pattern recognition. All right, good. So now we know that NLP and classification, how they can be used. The next task is to somehow get the text that we have into machine recognizable format. So this text was generated from Deep AI Text Generation API. This is based on GP2 model, and I like this text because it kind it it's- it it almost looks like a poem that is written by some human if seen from far away. If you read it if you read it carefully, then you'll find that this isn't a poem actually. But anyways, the last words are almost similar. So given this text, you are tasked to predict that when you get a new next line, that will it belong to the same rhythm or not. So the very first question that you will ask yourself is, how do we convert this text into a machine recognizable format? The machine understands only in numbers. So how do we convert that? And the answer for that is very simple. You'll create a vocabulary of say the must first 20 most recurring words in this whole training corpus, and you'll say tokens, the most 20 recurring words, and then you'll create a vector that will just have the entries, the number of times that word appeared in that particular line. So for example, um, yep, in this example, the 20 most recurring words are the, to, on, moon, so far, I know, way, by, in, seashore, land, dodge, off, ocean, horizon, and sky. So these 20 most recurring words are sorted in the order the double quotation mark the is appeared most in this training corpus. And similarly, the is two is the next best word, the next best most recurring word, and so on. So if anyone of you is interested that how I did this, was again I am a lazy person. I don't like to count this by my own. So I did this by creating a dictionary, and contained the this contained the number of times that particular word occurred in this given text, and then I sorted it and then printed the first most 20 words. And maybe Athav will tell you that why do we need to do this kind of pre-processing. We remove the punctuation, new lines, and full stop.
Yeah, so basically, just tell me, like when we are like writing or we are sending messages and everything, so we need grammar. But when we want machine to understand what we are speaking or what we are writing, for machine to understand our natural language, do they need to know grammar? Like for some cases, just example, if you are solving a English test, and then for recognizing your English test, for grading your English test, then probably you need a grammar checker, right? You have many grammar checkers online. There is not a human sitting right by. Okay, there are some rules, some are made by machine learning, but the thing is you don't need the grammar checker always. Okay, sometimes you don't need it when you are going to feed those words in your bag of words, when you are going to tokenize them. So they are basically unnecessary, and they don't need to be there in your bag of words when you're doing natural language processing. So these unnecessary words, like you call it as uh, stop words and all, like you remove these stop words, these are called stop words. So the words and all which are not necessary, then you do tokenization and all the other things that you'll be seeing.
Yeah. So after that, the and yes, this representation is called the bag of words. You are just putting all the words in a bag, and you are taking one word out. Uh, so I've just represented. I've just written the 20 most recurring words in a single line, and then think of this the as your first entry in the vector x1. Then the next two will be x2, on will be x3, and so on up till x20. Again, because we have taken the 20 most recurring words. And then, as we said earlier, the first entry would represent that how many times the has appeared in this the first line. So, for example, this would be the has appeared one time, so it will be one. Two has appeared one time, so it will be one. On has appeared none times, so zero. And moon has appeared one time, it will be one. All of them would be zeros up till this dodge, because dodge has appeared one time, and it will be somewhere around here. I think x16 it would be, and all the rest of the things would be zero. Similarly, for the next thing, D has appeared two times, to the moon. So therefore two, and again two has appeared two times, so two. On has appeared none times, so zero. Moon has appeared two times, so two. And we'll do it for all the other examples too, right? So uh, this text representation has converted into the numbers representation, which our machine learning model could possibly understand. So after we know that how to represent the text in machine recognizable format, the next thing that we need to do is generate an algorithm that will classify this. So we'll see the naive Bayes algorithm, but before seeing naive Bayes, again you might have already guessed that naive Bayes is based on Bayes theorem. So I'll just quote a quote from Sir Harold Jeffreys. He said that Bayes theorem is to theory of probability what Pythagoras theorem is to geometry. So Bayes theorem is the fundamental block of the theory of probability. Again, consider the x. I have written this bold x in bold because this is a vector, and all other things which are not bold, they are scalars. Okay. So consider this x vector, which is the entries. Again, think of them as like numbers that we saw before, of entries 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And consider this y vector. This y would be a scalar, as I may have said vector earlier, but think of it as a scalar, whose value will be always always either 0 or 1. Means it belongs to class 0 or class 1. Think of it like this. So then Bayes theorem says that p of y given x, so it will be p of x comma y, and divide by p of x. So what does this mean? This the meaning is very simple. That if you have some data x and you want to predict y, then you can model it differently. You can first calculate p of x and y and divide it with the whole probability of x. In this case, the probability of document. So the probability of x would act just like a constant to all of the others. So we can just drop this, and when we have dropped this, then the resulting is not a probability anymore. It will be a joint log likelihood. But as you can see that if we drop this, then we would be, it won't be an equality sign anymore, but it would be a directly proportional. So if p of x comma y goes up, then p of y given x will also go up, right? So then after this, we'll just need to calculate the p of x comma y, right? If we want to calculate the p of y given x, we'll just need to calculate the p of x comma y. So for this, we have just put the value of x vector here. It would be x1, x2, x3, and so on up to xn, and the y is just as before, right? So after this, then with the by chain rule of probability, we can write this same thing as follows. We'll say that the p of x1, x2, x3, and so on y is same as p of x1 given x2, and these all the other things x3, xn, and y. This would be multiplied with p of x2 given x3, x4, x5, and so on, xn and y. And this would go on up till the last one, p of xn given y, and the last term, p of y. And if you try to calculate the number of parameters that will be needing to calculate this term, it would be 2 raised to power n minus 1 times k. This k would be the number of classes. So in this case, the number of classes is 0 or 1, so it would be simple 2. So it would be 2 raised to power n minus 1 k, 2 raised to power n minus 2 times k, and so on. And it would be, this would be 1. So in total, you will need 2 raised to power n k parameters. And that's a very good big number. And if anyone of you remember that we talked about curse of dimensionality when we were talking about KNN, then the same things also applies here. The number of parameters required increases exponentially with the number of features, right? So the Bayes theorem isn't gonna work in when we have a large number of features. So what do we need to do? We make a naive assumption, and that naive assumption is that these features are conditionally independent. That would mean that x1 is not dependent on other features. It is dependent on the y only. So this first term would be replaced with p of x1 given y. Second term would be replaced with x2 given y, and all other terms would be replaced similarly. Right. So, or
Basically, does everyone remembers the Bayes theorem? In 11th and 12th mathematics, you must be remembering in probability there was a Bayes theorem. किसी को चमक रहा है? In 11th, 12th? Yeah, Samiksha remembers. And it was like given y and there was a like standing line and x. So it meant that the probability of y, given that x has already happened. Yeah, we used to get those questions in 11th, 12th maths that what a dice is rolled and then the first number that occurred was 1. What is the probability that next number would be 2 or something like that? So given the situation that x has already occurred, what would be the probability of y? The same thing we use here, but the only difference is that two two incidents happening, we consider them, so two features, we consider them independent of each other. So that is the naive assumption that Vishal just talked about for easier computation.
So again, you would have seen that the number of parameters are drastically reduced. So if you want to write this more efficiently, then you would say that p of y, this last term, you would write it in the front, and this all the other terms you are writing in this way. This pi term means that you are multiplying all the terms inside. You would have seen the summation sign. So in summation, we add all the inner terms. In this pi sign, we multiply all the inner terms. So this p of I equals to 1 to n. So this will multiply p of x1 given y multiplied with p of x2 given y. And this it would result in the above term only. So we have now p of y given x, which is directly proportional to p of y multiplied with this term, the likelihood term. So we call this, the first term is posterior, and this is directly proportional to prior. We call this p of y as prior, and the next term is called as likelihood. So when you want to calculate the y hat, the next best the class of the training example, then what you will do is you will first calculate this prior times likelihood, and you will take the value of y that maximizes it, that maximizes this inner expression. So you would have seen the maximum notation, that what's the maximum value of this inner expression, but this argmax would return what's the value of y that maximizes this inner expression, right? Cool. So I might have lied a little bit that this we are going to learn naive Bayes. Actually, we are going to learn 3 different naive Bayes, and that all depends on the choice of how we model these probabilities. So for example, we can model these probabilities from Gaussian, Bernoulli, or maybe a multinomial distribution, right? So in the next steps that we will need to do in naive Bayes is first make an assumption regarding the distribution of P of xi given y, and the next thing would be to calculate the likelihood function of the distribution, and then use maximum likelihood estimation to find the best parameters. And then, well, we are going to skip all this proof because the answer is simple. We have so much of time constraint, and that would be beyond the scope of this session. But anyways, if any one of you is interested, then I would say that look into this. But we'll be looking more into the formula and the hands-on part. So we'll quickly jump into the how to use Laplace or Lidstone smoothing, and this will get clearer with an example. So when I said that we need to use the likelihood function and then calculate the maximum likelihood estimation, then after all those things, for multinomial distribution, we'll get these formulas. And these formulas would be similar for all the problems. So just bear me for a couple of slides. This formula would make sense in a couple of minutes. So just see on to this example. Suppose you have an example that's in this training set, you have drugs by drugs, and of course it's spam, and drugs by, it's also spam, drugs now, that's also spam, and don't take drugs, please, seriously. And now if you are given a test set that says drugs sell now, then your task is to predict what class this should belong to, spam or ham. Well, by looking at it, you can clearly see that it should belong to spam, right? Drugs now, all the other things matches, right? And we have written the formula here. So this formula, what it says is that you will first need to calculate the prior probabilities. So just to count the number of messages in the jth class. For example, if you had the spam classes, then you will need to count the number of spam messages in your total training examples, and you need to divide by the number of total messages in your training set. So for example, if you had the spam class, then the number of spam messages in your training set was 3, and total number of messages are 4. So it would be 3 by 4. And for ham, we had only one message in our training data set. So it would be 1 divided by total number of messages, that is 4. Right? And for the conditional probabilities, we'll need to calculate the again we'll need to calculate the number. First we'll need to count the number of words in the jth class, and then we'll need to divide the total number of words in the jth class. Again, for example, if we had the jth class is spam, so then we'll first count the total number of times that drugs word appeared in that spam class. It would be drugs 1 time, drugs 2 time, drugs 3 time, drugs 4 time, and drugs 5 times. So the numerator terms will be 5 divided by total number of words would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 5 divided by 8. For we'll need to do the similar thing for sale also. The sale appeared actually none time in our training data set under this spam class. So we'll just write 0 and divide by total number of words in that spam class. It would be 8. For now too, we'll need to do this same. It would be 1 divided by 8. And after this, we'll need to calculate for ham also. So the total number of words uh, in ham class is 3. So don't take drugs. So every denominator term would be 3. And after this, we'll need to see that how many times the drugs appeared in ham class in our training corpus. So it would be 1. Cell appeared none times. So 0. And now appeared none times. So it would be again 0. Right? So now we have priors and conditional probabilities. Now we'll just need to choose a class. Right? So for choosing a class, if you remember the formula, it was priors times this likelihood term. Right? So for spam class, it would be 3 by 4 times this all of these conditional probabilities, 5 by 8, 0 by 8, and 1 by 8. Right? And for ham, it would be similar, but this would be probability of ham. So it would be 1 by 4. And all the conditional probabilities of the drug cell in now given ham. So 1 by 3, 0 by 3, and 0 by 3. And if you multiply this, you'll get 0. Where did it break? Can anyone tell? Why do we need to decide randomly?
Just guess, even if you don't know the answer. So it's a two-way interaction. So it don't want to be getting bored. You don't want. So even if you don't know, wrong answer will be appreciated. But just guess it.
I cannot see the chats in here. Come on, guess where did this naive base break? What was the breaking point of this naive base? Why did we get zeros here? Right, cool. So the reason we got 0 here was this sale word. This sale was not in our this spam class in this trading corpus, and this sale and now they weren't even in our training this ham class. So if you didn't see this word, you assigned a 0 probability to it, right? And that's kind of mean. If you haven't seen any word, you are just saying that it won't be a spam or ham. It won't be anything. And it, as it turns out, it's also statistically a bad idea to assign 0 probability just because we haven't seen it, right? So the solution is simple. Assume that you have seen that word already. You are adding one to every word. So the formula would get a bit modified. So the priors would be the same because the number of messages would not get uh, affected by the number of words if we increase or decrease. But the this conditional probabilities would get modified. So you have added the 1 to the numerator, and you would add the size of the vocabulary in the denominator. But more generally, if you want to if you want to make it more general, so that instead of 1 you would add some constant alpha, and you would multiply the denominator with the same alpha times vocabulary. So the first term that we saw, that alpha is equals to 1, is called the Laplace smoothing, and the other one with the alpha, the more general one, is called the Lidstone smoothing. Right. So we are revisiting the spam classifier again, and for the prior probabilities, the number of times the spam message appeared in our training corpus was 3, and total number of messages in our training corpus, it would be 4. For ham, it would be 1 by 4 because again, the number of times the ham message appeared was only 1. For conditional probabilities, the again we are adding this 1. We are forcing the model to think that the model already saw a word before, even if it hadn't. So this 5 by 8 is from before drugs, 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 and drugs. The drugs appeared 5 times, and we are adding 1 because of Laplace smoothing. And divided by 8 plus 6. This 6 is the total size of the vocabulary. Your vocabulary size is 6 because again drugs, buy, offer, now, don't take. The total number of count is 6. So it would be 5 plus 1 divided by 8 plus 6. Similarly for sale, the sale appeared none time in spam class, so it's 0, but you are adding 1 again because of Laplace smoothing. And divide by 8 plus 6, this 8 plus 6 would be similar for all the conditional probabilities of spam class. So now would be 1 plus 1, now appeared only 1 time in training spam classifier. Similarly, you would need to do for ham. So ham would be drugs given ham would be 1 plus 1. This drugs was seen 1 time in this ham class. It would be 1 plus 1. 1 because again because of Laplace smoothing, and divide by 3 plus 6. This 6 would be constant. You would have seen that we are adding 1 and 6 to numerator and denominator in both the cases, right? And this 1 by 3, 0 by 3, 0 by 3, that's all it from before. And when we are choosing classes, then you can see that there are no more zeros in here. So if you haven't seen any word, it won't ask you to decide randomly. So again, we are multiplying the same terms, this g by 4 from p of spam, and all the other things from this spam. 5 plus 1 is 6, 8 plus 6 is 14, 0 plus 1 is 1, and 8 plus 6 is 14, 1 plus 1 is 2, right? And the similar thing for ham, 1 plus 1, 2, 0 plus 1, 1, 0 plus 1, 1, and 3 plus 6 is 9, 9, 9. All right. So when we multiply this, we see that it's 0.0033 for spam given document 5. This document 5 is this test set. And probability of ham given D5 is 0.0007. So we can easily see that this P of spam given D5 is the bigger one. So we'll assign the spam class to this document 5 or the message 5. Okay. But it turns out that this algorithm will also break. And the reason is these numbers are very small and this may lead to underflow. The computer can store a decimal point number only up to a certain amount. After that, it would assign 0. And we know that these numbers will be small because probability is always between 0 and 1. So what's the solution? The solution is very simple. You need to convert this multiplication somehow into summation. You need to add these terms together. What do you think we should do? We need to convert a multiplication into a summation. Come up. Any random guesses? If you are tasked to do, change the multiplication sign into plus sign, what would you do? Come on, come on. Any random guesses? How would you change a multiplication sign into summation sign for this? Come on. No guesses. All right. The answer was simpler than you all could have possibly imagined. Just take the log. Log of a times b is log of a plus log of b, right? So this multiplication sign is converted into summation, and the best part is that you won't even need to transform it back, because if x is less than y, then log x is also less than log y, right? So, but when we are trying to implement all of this, we don't need to implement this by scratch, right? We have the sklearn class. So in this sklearn class, we have in this sklearn library, we have the multinomial NB class that would implement the example that we just saw. All of that it would do for us, and this would implement the naive Bayes algorithm for multinomially distributed data. So the data that we saw was multinomially distributed, and the parameters are estimated with the smooth version of maximum likelihood. We saw that it was Laplace smoothing, the plus one, and in the denominator we added this size of the vocabulary, right? And this formula should make sense to you now. With alpha equals to 1, this would resemble the Laplace smooth version of multinomial naive Bayes, right? But there are also other types of naive Bayes. One is also called the Bernoulli naive Bayes. This is the one with the ones. The Bernoulli, you might have guessed that the input should be something between something 0 or 1. The input vector should be binary, right? So the main difference between multinomial and Bernoulli is that it's the one with the numbers, means the counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this one's with the ones, zeros and ones. Okay. And the decision rule for this binary naive Bayes is based on this formula, and don't bother much on this formula. Just remember this, that if you have the input as binary vectored, then you would use the Bernoulli naive Bayes. If not, then you would use the multinomial naive Bayes. And this Bernoulli naive Bayes sometimes perform better on the dataset with shorter documents. Very good. And we have one more type of naive Bayes that's called the Gaussian naive Bayes. This takes the idea even further. In the multinomial naive Bayes, we saw that we had 1, 2, 3. What happens when we have the value between these 1 and 2 in our input vector? For example, 1.1. Then we would use the Gaussian naive Bayes. This assumes that the probability distribution is from a Gaussian-like distribution, and the formula for Gaussian distribution is this scary looking formula. And the parameters are estimated with again the maximum likelihood estimation. This sigma is called the what you can say, the sigma squared is called the variance, and the sigma is called the standard deviation, and this mu is called your mean, right? And this exp is your exponential function, right? If you don't trust me, that if you don't think that this kind of scary looking formulas are actually implemented in programming, then see it for yourself. This is the formula for Gaussian naive Bayes probability distribution, and this is the base class for the naive Bayes, and you can see it here that it's the joint log likelihood. I also said that in the numerical detail we convert the multiplication sign into summation sign with the help of the log because of the underflow problem. So in this derived class of Gaussian naive Bayes, might have guessed the prior probability is the classifier. You are just taking the log of the prior probabilities, and for this log of p x given c, you are just taking the log of this. So log of this would be mine. Again, you can try this yourself. I'd recommend doing this, but I'm saying this directly. So it would be minus half of log of 2 pi sigma squared and plus log of no log of e raised to power minus this scary looking term, and this log and exponential would cancel, so you'd only have this xi minus mu squared divided by 2 sigma squared y. And you can see it here also that it's the same thing, minus half of this log term 2 pi and sigma squared. Sigma squared is called variance, and the next term is this half of the mu is called as theta here. We call mu as theta. All right. So now maybe you trust me on this, and you have built a model that somehow predicts that what's the class of a new text message, right? So now your next task would be to evaluate your model. So for example, if you had a message married local hamster looking for discrete action now, and its actual class was spam and you predicted as ham, and similarly for other examples too, how would you get a number that would uh, that would justify your model, right? You will create a confusion matrix. So the confusion matrix for this dataset is this. Again, you have seen that the actual class was ham, then the predicted class was ham for these examples: m2, m3, m4, m9, m10, and m11. So these are 2, 3, 4, 9. The ham and ham are same, 10 and 11. Similarly, for spam, you would also see that 5 and 6. And when your model predicted spam, but it was not actually spam, then we are placing them here. And all the other things that are left, we are placing it here, right? Now you all must already know the formula of accuracy. It was the sum of diagonal terms divided by the sum of all the uh, matrix elements. So it would be 6 plus 2 and all the other terms 6 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2, right? Your accuracy would tell you that it's a 0.72 accuracy, means your model is correct 0.72 times. In every 100 times, your model is correct 72 times, right? But that's bad. The total number of times you have predicted the spam, half of the time it was ham. It means that some of your actually good messages were classified as spam, and you won't even see them. For example, see this M7. No, I'll meet you in the library. It was ham, but it was your model classified it as spam. Okay. So you won't see this message, and this would be very drastic. You will go to some another place, right? And that's really bad. So you want to somehow penalize these terms, and you want to see it in your score, the end score that your model will return. So your accuracy was this 0.72, but this time we have these two different terms, precision and recall. So your precision would be this the number of times the message was actually spam when you classified it as spam, right? So it would be 2, this purplish term, pinkish purplish term, it would be 2 divided by 2 plus this reddish pink term. So it would be 2 divided by 2 plus 2 and equals to 0.5. Now you can see that the model doesn't look very good, right? Your precision is just 0.5. Half of the time your model predicted something is spam, it wasn't actually, right? And I said one another term, it was recall. So how many of the actual spam examples got actually correctly classified as spam? So it would be your this row one, this two, M5 and M6 would be your what is the numerator, then your numerator, and the denominator would be the total summation of this row. So it would be two examples in spam and and one example in predicted hack. So it would be 2 plus 1. So it would be 0.66. But when we are into machine learning, we always want to like look at one number and we want that number to justify our model. So we have figured this out and it's called the F1 score. And this F1 score is the harmonic mean of precision and recall, right? So you can try calculating this. It would turn out to be 1 divided by something something. You can try out the math yourself. I'll share these slides with you, right? And with this, maybe you won't need anything more. And the next session would be on deployment. If you have any doubts, you can ask now.
Okay, so actually, what we will be doing tomorrow is that we would be seeing how to actually build a based SMS spam classifier. So basically, whatever your Gmail or your normal SMS has, that you would receive a text and then it automatically gets detected as a spam or not. So that's what you would be actually creating, and it was based on whatever theory Vishal just now told you. कुछ नहीं समझा चलता है. Tomorrow it will be revised. Okay, so if you didn't understand what happened today, it will be revised tomorrow, so you don't need to worry if something's got out of your head, out of your hand, no problem. The example, like, just see in your chat, I gave you a link. So basically this is what you would be learning to create tomorrow. So it will be both things. First would be the model creation as usual, posting up your IPython notebooks and then creating your notebook. That would be regular. But what extra you would be learning, and that would be how to deploy on website. So just like now I gave you this link of spamio.heroku.com. So here I've deployed my model, which can tell you if some messages are spam or not. And in fact, it can give you wrong predictions. Okay, don't blame me because the data was too small. It's for illustration purposes only, so that you know how the things work. Okay, so the data for training was very small, so it's just an illustration that this is what you would be doing and this is what you would be learning tomorrow. So you can feel free, try the website out. Do let me know when you get very much wrong predictions. Okay, you don't have to blame me, blame the machine learning. And once you have built your own model, then you would be deploying it. Heroku is one of the examples of platforms you can deploy it. Other ways are Azure and all the other stuff. Okay, so now what we would be doing is that I would just want to give you something. uh Wait a second. Whiteboard. Oops. Okay, give me a second. uh does anyone remember my password? Because I don't. Okay, looks like I remembered. Hmm. So anybody saw any movies recently? Okay. Anybody saw Radhe by any chance? I didn't, but anyone else? Or any other awesome movie or series?
Ask them about Hollywood movies.
Oh, sir, but Aladdin, yes. Okay. You saw Aladdin. So, Chow, can I get some details about how the movie was? Okay. Family Man season 2. Arey, of course, yeah. I only saw first episode. So, please don't give me any spoilers. If anyone has seen Family Man's much more further episodes, details, XD. Okay.
Has anyone watched
Uh,
Conjuring
so
3?
okay, Aditya saw Conjuring on HBO. So anyone else saw Conjuring?
Anyone? Okay, so I guess no one has seen Conjuring. Okay, let's proceed, Athava.
Okay, no problem. So okay, किसको पकड़े? I want a बकरा. एक बकरा चाहिए मेरे को. नकुल,
Nakul.
चल. Okay, so Mr. Nakul, I just saw recent chat. Nakul, tell me a movie or a series you saw right now. Family Man season 2 देख रहा है ना? So Nakul is seeing Family Man season 2. Conjuring I want to watch. Is it out already? Yeah, it's out, Chow, by the way. Okay, so Nakul is going to tell us any recent binge he has done. It could be a movie, it could be a series, and a little bit of review. One line review. Please, Nakul. Have you watched Family Man season 2 or you was just telling us that it's out? Anyone else want to like join in? Chao, Samiksha, and I'm just reading chats. So
Nakul has
whosoever.
watched it. He can tell us.
Okay. So Nakul, one line description. The series was awesome. The series was boring. Anything. So here I wrote the movie was boring. Thinking someone watched Radhe. Is any show okay? Yeah, any show, Chow. You want to fill us in? Waiting, come on. Any one show. By the way, I finished Suits today. Someone remembering me. 1 second. I got a call.
Do you guys have watched Silicon Valley? It's about based on how startups are formed in California, Silicon Valley. So it is a best series. If you are in engineering field, it will get you motivated to start your own
Yeah, how
startup.
many people are having my number? Huh? Random people call me speaking random names, wrong
Why
numbers,
so?
and I don't know. Yeah, someone leaked my number or what?
Are they asking about to join the session?
No, thankfully not, because it was
Okay.
some old person asking
Okay,
if I
Chow
was
has watched Silicon Valley. Great series, good combination of stories. Okay, Nakul has given his review.
okay. Great series, good combination of story and undercover agent and husband and a father at the same time, right? So I can't write this much. I'm so sorry. I'll so great series. Okay, dot. And handwriting sucks. My handwriting sucks. I'm a lefty, by the way. Good
Just pay attention to his voice.
combination. My voice. ये दिख
Yes.
नहीं रहा.
No, it's audible. It's visible also.
अच्छा, okay.
Those who are not understanding his
Good
handwriting, I said
combination.
them to watch your, listen to your voice.
All right. And undercover agent. Okay, rest I'm not writing. I am too lazy. Okay. So this was Nakul's somewhat review. Okay. So what actually happens when you try to create these models? So first step is to get the data, and that would be these sentences. Okay. So it would be like if anyone watched any boring movie, so the first line would apply. Okay. Let me see how I can pan it. Is this okay? I don't want this here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Great series dot. Great series dot. Lol. Okay, and this is O. Too much working on details. Never mind. So basically, this is what Mr. Nakul has given his review. Thank you so much, Nakul. And now, so what happens is that first we want the data. So we have this data sentence. Okay, let's say we are making a classification for Rotten Tomatoes. So Rotten Tomatoes want to see that how the reviews are. Are they good? Are they bad? Okay, just wants to classify them. So classification, dimag ki batti jali. Okay, was there something triggered in your mind when you hear the word classification? The thing that should trigger your mind when you hear classification is a confusion matrix. Confusion matrix, classification, classes. There would be 2, 3, 4. I don't know how many classes. There would be a confusion matrix. Okay, Nakul's brain says random forest. Okay, in fact, random forest classifier can be used, which performs in many cases better than any other classifiers, but okay. So basically, classification is what we are going to do. So now, what we want, like we have the data, then what we do tokenization. Okay. So step 1 was to get the data. Step 2, tokenization. Tokenization. Okay. So in tokenization, what you do is I have these sentences, I have a long sentences. So I want to break down those sentences. Okay. Break down. Oh my God. Sentences. Okay. So I want to break down the sentences. I want to read it word by word. Okay. So I will see great, series, dot, good, combination. Okay. So you get the point. Breaking down, that means tokenization. So once I can read word by word for a particular let's say a sentence or a paragraph, then what I do, is stop word removals. Stop words removal. I want to throw out the stop words, and by the stop words what I mean is the words that have no meaning or nothing to do with my review. So for example, actually they are good for grammar, but I don't want to use them for classification. So for example, this the was, so these are stop words, and so I will just remove these words. Okay, the and was, whatever the words that are necessary for grammar, I don't need my classifier to know that because they don't contain any particular meaning of their own, right? So why would I need those words? So third step is stop words removal. So you get the data and you tokenize it. Tokenize means break down word by word. You see word by word, you read it word by word. Then you remove the stop words. And after stop words removal, then you do stemming. Okay.
Yeah.
Stemming. And okay, let me arrange this. Okay, breaking down sentences, stop word removal, and then you have stemming. In stemming, what you do, like run, ran, watched, watch, watching. Okay, so tenses. Tenses in the word. Basically, run or ran means run only. Watched, watching, watching, watched, whatever it is, it's nothing but watch only. So these tenses,
All
so
the
like
verb
whatever
forms V1,
tenses you
V2,
have,
V3.
right, the V1, V2, V3, you convert it into one word only. So for run or ran, what you will do, you will just consider run and you will eliminate the ran. Like, okay. Then for watched, watching, you will just consider watched, watching, goli maro. Matlab, just convert them to a particular one word. Okay, you don't want to consider them as other words, right? So this is what pre-processing you need to do. And then after that, what you do is you build your vocabulary. Okay, so is it visible? Fifth, build your vocab. It will be also called as bag of. Aditya, if it's not visible in my screen sometimes, no, just tell me because I am writing on the tab, so I can't just look
It's
what people are
visible.
saying. Yeah, sorry.
It's visible. Go on.
Okay. Bag of words. Okay. Build your vocabulary. It can be also called as bag of words, or it can be also called as corpus. So basically a dictionary. So once you have your words, okay. So run, ran, watched, watch, watching. So these all would be like converted into a single word so that you don't have a lots and lots of words and you have particular words you need. Also the, was, etc. You would be removing those. Okay, and then you build your vocabulary, that is your bag of words. And what is it? It's a list of distinct words. Okay, all the words you have, so collection of the, sorry, collection of words to train. Okay, so what you have is that, so first, like you saw 5 steps. First was to get your data. Okay, so first you got your data. Data was, it could be sentences, it could be paragraphs, it could be whatever. Okay. Then you tokenize. Tokenize means read sentence like word by word. You break down the words. So basically, if you have a string, what you will do is that you will see it word by word. Okay, you will break it down. And after tokenization, you remove the stop words, that is unnecessary words like the, was, has. Okay, then you stem, that is you convert all v1, v2, v3 forms into a v1 form, that is one normal form, that is run, watch, eat, eating, ate. So you will just convert it into eat, and then you build your vocabulary. Then you collect those words whatever you have. Okay, and then after that you train on that data. Okay, you train on that data, and what do? You still have words. Okay, you still have words now, you have collection of words now. So what you do is you assign one, like one character, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. You assign these characters for a particular word, these numbers for a particular word. So 1 could be my watch, 2 could be my boring, 3 could be my any other word. Okay, related to watching. So let's say streamed. Okay, 4th could be enjoyed. So once I have the bag of words, I will convert it into numbers. Okay, so my sentences could be then converted into numbers, and then these could be trained for my machine learning model to be built. So this is what a kind of pre-processing you need to do, and then you create, basically you train, and then after training you have your model, then you deploy your, and then you can share your model and blah blah blah. So everyone got till here? So in action you would be seeing this tomorrow, but I just wanted to give you some quick recap of what you will be doing today. Okay, so like I'll keep this notebook for tomorrow just for a revision, let's say. So I just wanted to tell you that what would be happening, and once you have this, then you would be training and all the other stuff. So in code you would be seeing tomorrow. We kept this session short, and tomorrow you will be creating this model, and then you will be deploying tomorrow as well. So if you are like so much thorough, so much done, so I can even give you 1 second, GitHub and Spania. Okay, so this is where the, like my deployment you can see. So basically from here I have deployed, so it has everything with the code, with the deployment, with the model. If you are too much excited, you can pay a visit if you know what Python is, like if you are very good with Python and machine learning. So I have the code open source for everyone to see, and I would be explaining each of those things tomorrow. So if you are like, oh my god, what's happening, don't worry, everything would be covered tomorrow. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining in. And if you have any doubt on these things, you can like ask right now. These 5 steps you need to do for pre-processing. Thank you, sir. Lee. Okay, no problem, Lee. No doubts. Okay, Rutuja has no doubts. Thank you. Okay.